Hello, everybody. Michael Tracy here. So, the war propaganda machine is kicking into high gear. A few developments that are ominous and worth sharing. So, let me just go through a few of them. First, Lindsey Graham, the media superstar who everybody seeks out as an authoritative commentator on matters related to military affairs, was on Meet the Press this morning. And his first utterance was something that is just sort of mind boggling. And of course, Chuck Todd didn't see it as his role to try to push back on this absurd proclamation. But then again, why would Chuck Todd see fit to do so? He is part of a media elite which generally view these sorts of military actions as conferring seriousness with a capital S to the president who authorizes them. So here's what Lindsey Graham said, quote, "I think ISIS should be Germany and Assad should be Japan, like World War II analogies here," end quote. Okay, so Lindsey Graham is someone who is now exalting the level of threat posed by Assad to that of Germany in World War II. World War II, Japan, rather, Graham was likening Assad to Japan. Okay, so Japan attacked the U.S. naval base in Hawaii, in Pearl Harbor. Japan imposed vast amounts of casualties on U.S. forces in World War II. I mean, this analogy should be self-evidently absurd to anybody with half a brain, I would think, but Chuck Todd couldn't summon the fortitude to challenge Graham on that incredibly incendiary claim. I don't know how many Americans watching the program actually believe it. My hope would be that not very many, but then again, who knows? In the midst of a war frenzy, people seem to drop their skepticism and other critical faculties and just kind of buy into whatever the people who are ostensibly in charge are selling. Graham further adds that he now views the policy of the Trump administration to be, quote, regime change. Okay, so Graham said regime change is now the policy of the Trump administration, and he based that statement on something that Ambassador Nikki Haley had just said on Meet the Press, which is that you'll never end the war with Assad in power. So, amazingly, over the span of just a couple days, and because Trump happened to be watching TV and saw some sad images of some beleaguered children, that was apparently enough to swiftly and radically change the policy of the administration vis-a-vis Syria, which is disturbing on a number of levels. First, if that's the level of impulsivity and volatility that is operative in the administration and would cause the policy to radically change, notwithstanding months and months and I guess even years of campaign pledges, then no one should have any confidence at all, really, in there being any kind of guiding principle here beyond what seems politically expedient. And the purported chemical attack provided an opportunity to capitalize on the political expediency. So Graham is somebody who wants more troops, not surprisingly, and he and McCain met with Rex Tillerson on Tuesday, which was the day of the purported chemical attack, and previously they had raged that the policy of the administration appeared to be that they would no longer agitate for the removal of Assad, and that very day of the chemical attack, Graham and McCain, the two amigos, met with Tillerson and were much more optimistic about him conforming to their particular views. So, are they now influential figures with the administration? It's very possible. It'll also be very ironic because Trump demonized Graham and McCain viciously over the course of the campaign, and his triumph over their brand of Republican politics was seen as really sort of, I don't know if I would say revolutionary, but it was seen as hugely significant in terms of shifting the direction of the party. Here's another aspect of what is usually concomitant with war frenzy. The media gets a lot more deferential. So here's just an incredible tweet from the New Yorker magazine. Now, the New Yorker is sort of the tribune of seriousness in certain elite circles, elite, urbane, kind of coastal, long-form magazine reading circles. You can't do much better than the New Yorker, and certainly they've done plenty of great work over the course of the history of that publication. There's no doubt about it. But Ryan Lizza is probably not one of my favorite New Yorker contributors, and his article on the legality of the Syria strikes was accompanied by a tweet which reads, quote, "The moral case for the strike on Syria is uncontroversial. The strategic case is also clear, but was it legal?" Well, thank you for decreeing that the moral argument over the validity and rightness of the strike is just settled. I hadn't been aware that had been determined by anybody. Usually, the moral case around the rightness or wrongness of military strikes is hugely in contention, and in this case, it is definitely not uncontroversial. But now we're seeing from these establishment elite precincts this decree that, in fact, debate is over, and everybody who is of sound mind and with a sound moral compass should just get on board. And then, furthermore, the strategic case is also not clear at all. I mean, the very next day, it's been reported the Syrian forces used this base that was targeted to launch further operations. So the strike doesn't even seem to have impeded the Syrian government's ability to continue in its course here. So what is the strategic case for the strikes? It's not clear. It seems like what really is most operative here is that there's an ideological case for bombing Assad. And that ideological case has been something that has been promoted by the Washington, D.C. foreign policy establishment for now many years. And they had been seeking an opening under Obama to further that ideological end and attack Assad and implement a regime change initiative. But the idea that it's just this neutral strategic calculus that doesn't have any relationship to a pre-existing ideological assumption is just wrong. Of course there is ideology there, and it looks now as though people who have been calling for the ouster of Assad as a matter of ideological conviction for now many years found an opening under Trump. So be on the lookout for any kind of condescending proclamations like that on the part of the media, which kind of give the impression that there's no further debate required here, and send them to me if you encounter them. Lastly, yesterday Trump sent a letter to Congress pursuant to his duties under the War Powers Resolution. And in this letter, he asserts that the vital national security and foreign policy interests of the United States were at stake in this attack, and that the airstrike or strikes was done to further those vital national security interests. Now, I don't know anybody who believes that. I mean, sure, you could probably fashion some kind of convoluted rationale which says that Assad, in a remote sense, poses a threat to U.S. national security interests vis-a-vis Iran, perhaps. But that really is just a matter of sort of neoconservative ideology. It has nothing to do with Assad actually threatening the national security of the United States. I mean, nobody who is remotely competent could argue with any plausibility at all that the Assad government could somehow attack the United States or even really really do severe damage to United States forces overseas. So that definitely seems like a very very flimsy pretext, and it's not clear who seriously believes that. So we sort of have like deception layered upon deception here, and probably most ominously, the letter further states that the United States will take additional action as necessary and appropriate to further its important national interests. So that very much leaves open the possibility that this could result in further strikes, further actions, further potentially ground troop deployments, and further escalations of hostilities against the Assad government and by extension Russia. So it's very, very worrisome, I believe, and people should be following this closely. So that's my update for now, and I will link all the relevant items that I cited here in the description box. Beyond that, happy news. Have a great day.